It was the spring of my senior year, and I had just started dating a guy named Jack. We'd been together for a few months, but everything felt new and exciting. Prom was just around the corner, and although I was looking forward to it, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. A few weeks earlier, I had changed all of my contact information and moved to a new house with my family. It was the result of a stalker I'd been dealing with for far too long. My ex, Ben. Ben was 3 years older than me, and we met during a difficult time in my life. He seemed sweet at first, but over time, I realized how controlling and manipulative he was. When I broke up with him, it was like I'd awakened a monster. He refused to let go, showing up at my house unannounced, leaving threatening messages, and even trying to get into my house at night. I had to get a restraining order against him, but it didn't stop him. So my family decided to move to escape his grasp. The day of prom, I couldn't help but feel a pit in my stomach. Ben knew I'd be there, and that terrified me. Jack was understanding, though, reassuring me that he'd keep me safe. My friends were also on high alert. They made sure I wasn't followed when we left for the venue, and Jack promised he'd stay close to me the entire night. We all hopped into a limo, driving the 30 minutes to the fancy hall where the event was taking place. The venue was beautiful, and for a while I tried to enjoy the night. We sat at our table, eating and laughing, and I even managed to get on the dance floor for a little while. But the whole time, my eyes kept scanning the crowd. Was Ben here? Could he be watching me? I couldn't relax. Eventually, someone handed me a drink to calm my nerves, just a little shot of vodka. I wasn't a big drinker, but I figured it couldn't hurt. I took it in the bathroom and almost immediately regretted it when I felt a wave of nausea, but soon enough, the anxiety started to ebb away. For the first time all night, I felt a little more at ease. After a few hours, we decided to head to the after-party at a friend's house. As we stepped outside the venue and walked toward our rides, something caught my eye. One car in particular stood out to me. It was parked in front of the building, its lights off. I couldn't see the driver, but there was someone sitting in the car wearing a baseball cap, looking down at the dashboard. I pointed it out to Jack, and he tried to calm me down, saying it was probably nothing. But my gut told me otherwise. We got into our friend's car and made the 20-minute drive to Melissa's house. I kept glancing behind us, wondering if we were being followed. I told myself I was just being paranoid, but my instincts were screaming. Mark reassured me again, holding my hand, and I tried to convince myself that it was all in my head. Melissa's house was crowded, but I didn't feel much better. There were about 20 people there, and it was clear everyone was drinking and having fun. But as the night dragged on, I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. Jack and I decided to leave, and when we walked outside, I made a mental note of every car parked along the street. There were a lot of cars, but nothing looked out of place. At least I told myself that. Jack's sister came to pick us up, and we made our way back to their house. It was very late by this point, and when we got inside, it was just Jack's mom and sister home. Jack's dad, a retired cop, was still working a late shift. We went downstairs to his room, which was like a mini apartment, complete with a small kitchen, living room, and bedroom. The warm night air had the windows cracked open, and we settled in to watch a movie. That's when I heard it, a loud bang. At first, I thought it was just something from the movie, but then I realized it came from the back door. My heart skipped a beat. Jack immediately jumped up and pulled the curtain back, and we both froze. There, on the glass, was a post-it note with a single word on it: found. My stomach dropped. I knew it instantly. Ben had followed us from the prom to Melissa's, and now here he was. The note, the timing, it all clicked. We rushed upstairs to wake Jack's mom, and she immediately called his dad. We also called the police, and while we waited for them to arrive, time seemed to drag on forever. Finally, we heard the doorbell and a few loud knocks. It was the police. I had to explain everything: Ben, the restraining order, the stalking, the note. They asked if there were cameras on the property. Sadly, there weren't. They wanted to know if I had any texts from him or knew where he lived. But I didn't. I had changed my number months ago, and I had no idea where he was. Just as we were finishing the conversation, Jack's dad arrived home. He immediately went to check the property, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something was about to happen. Later, we found out the truth. The next day, Jack's dad had installed security cameras around their house. The very next night, one of the cameras detected motion. Jack's dad grabbed his gun and went outside to investigate, following the scent of gasoline. He found Ben standing at the side of the house, pouring gasoline all over the property. Jack's dad immediately confronted him, telling him to drop the gasoline and put his hands up. It was then that Ben was arrested. The police charged him with attempted arson, among other things, and he was sentenced to over 30 years in prison. He had been planning to burn down Jack's house. I was just thankful that we were all safe. Jack and I stayed close after that, and I can't even describe how comforting it was to know that finally, Ben would no longer be a threat to me or anyone else. It's strange to think that after everything I went through, the scariest part wasn't just the stalking. It was how close I came to losing everything.